Hey there, you're watching Procurement Shorts, your one-stop shop for everything making headlines around the world in the business of procurement and supply chain. The United States continues to come down heavily on Russian businesses in the wake of its invasion of Ukraine. Earlier this week, Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced sanctions on 7 more Russian shipping companies and 69 of its individual carriers. The companies include Russia's state-owned Oboron Logistica, SC South LLC, the Northern Shipping Company, Transmorflot, M Leasing LLC, Marine Transshipping LLC, and Nord Project LLC. The reason for these sanctions include the charge that some of these firms have transported Russian weapons across international waters. The Northern Shipping Company and Transmorflot are the most impacted as they account for a total of 41 sanctioned vessels between them. The move comes even as the US has already imposed sanction on Sovcomlot, Russia's largest shipping company, and the United Shipbuilding Corporation, its most well-known shipbuilder. Sunday's sanctions also include blacklisting of Russian state-owned media and banks, which now stand to make lesser foreign revenue. It isn't just the US that's targeting and sanctioning Russian businesses. Following America's sanctions, the G7 nations committed to either ban or phase out the import of Russian oil as a retaliatory measure to Russia's continued aggression in Ukraine. The move came in the lead up to Russia's Victory Day celebrations on Monday, where President Vladimir Putin hailed his nation's attempts at disarming Ukraine. In a joint statement, the G7 nations said, and I quote, "We commit to phase out our dependency on Russian energy, including by phasing out or banning the import of Russian oil. We will ensure that we do so in a timely and orderly fashion. We will work together and with our partners to ensure stable and sustainable global energy supplies and affordable prices for our consumers." End quote. Meanwhile, at Russian ports, crude remains one of the country's most hotly traded commodities. The week ending May 6 saw only a minor change in trade volumes of crude when compared to the one gone by, thanks largely to Western ports seeing a significant climb down in traffic. According to vessel tracking data accessed by Bloomberg, 34 Russian tankers with 24.9 million barrels of crude made their way out of Russian ports all of last week. This totals to 3.56 million barrels per day. That's 2% down from the 3.62 million barrels exported per day across the previous 7 days. While the G7 nations may have imposed sanctions on Russian crude oil, the European Union has stopped short of an outright ban under pressure from Hungary. Meanwhile, Russia continues to route exports through strategic trade routes in the Baltic Sea, Black Sea, the Arctic Ocean, and terminals along the Pacific coastline. Moving on, just when you thought the microprocessor shortage last year was all set to blow over, indications are rife that a long-term supply chain crunch is in the offing. Intel CEO Patrick Gelsinger has warned that microprocessor shortages could well run into 2024 thanks to the geopolitical strife in Europe and COVID-induced lockdowns in China. Only last year, a sudden and unexpected shortage of microprocessors cost the US economy an estimated loss of $240 billion. That could repeat this year too, as Intel said the war in Ukraine and China's lockdowns could, quote, further increase supply chain risks and contribute to inflationary pressures, end quote. The invasion of Ukraine in particular couldn't come at a more inconvenient time from a microprocessor supply chain standpoint. Russia and Ukraine, remember, are 2 of the world's leading producers of neon gas, which is a critical component in manufacturing computer chips. In fact, Gelsinger called on more countries around the world to turn manufacturers of semiconductors and lend geographical balance to the ecosystem. China may have begun restarting its economy and reopening its ports after a strict COVID-induced lockdown across its business districts. But experts say the damage to global supply chains may have already been done. Shipping delays at one of the world's largest ports, Shanghai, have caused a domino effect, resulting in queues and cargo delays at ports across Europe and the United States. One study has indicated that shipping delays between China, Europe, and the US have quadrupled since March, when China began shutting down major business districts. According to a study by global maritime data firm Windward, 20% of the world's container vessels at sea are awaiting clearance outside congested ports thanks to these delays. This totals to 412 ships, which in itself is a 58% increase since February. A quarter of these vessels are stuck outside Chinese ports. In China, 27 cities remain under full or partial lockdown, even as the country has begun easing restrictions that have affected an estimated 185 million of its citizens. The Chinese government has stoically maintained its COVID-0 policy as a response to the spike in Omicron cases reported across its major cities. Well, that's about all the time we have on this edition of Procurement Shorts. Log into bureaulive.ai for more news and updates from the world of logistics and supply chains. Until next time, it's goodbye from us.